Anderson here. Welcome back to another installment of The Independent Pianist. Today we are back with a favorite of mine, Rachmaninoff's E-flat Etude from Opus 33. This piece is, of course, highly technically challenging, as befits a work with the title of Etude, but more important than that is the wonderful sense of play that rules throughout the piece. It's an extremely motivically dense piece. I count and mark 5 different motives in the score. However, the development of the motives is not handled in anything like the usual classical kind of way, and not at all like in the works of the Viennese classical masters, Beethoven or Haydn, for example. Of course, this is a very short piece, so there isn't much time for a great deal of development anyway. Instead, there's a somewhat stream of consciousness manner to the way that the motives kind of flit in and out of the texture and combine one with the other. The first 2 motives, motives A and B, are obviously closely related as well, and Rachmaninoff enjoys playing with this similarity, exploring different combinations, different rhythmic positions, sometimes on the beat, sometimes off the beat, and different combinations of the inverted version of these motives and the original version. This piece is also so short that there's not much time to really explore a standard kind of classical form either. So Rachmaninoff kind of invents his own form. There is kind of the outline of a development section and the suggestion of a recapitulation. At the beginning, there's just 2 opening phrases which kind of parallel each other and which establish the 2 major tonal areas of the piece, E flat major and C minor. In that kind of recap section, it's very free, but there's kind of a suggestion of the opening phrases, and now all the motives from the opening are all combined together in a very rousing manner. This piece explores one of Rachmaninoff's favorite devices. It's actually quite simple. He suggests a certain tonal ambiguity in the opening, which capitalizes on the fact that the major tonic triad shares 2 notes with the related minor triad. So in this case, it's E flat major. The E flat and the G are also shared in the C minor triad, C, E flat, G. This kind of suggestion of C minor at the opening seems to be preparing an arrival on C minor, which arrives in a kind of humorous slapstick way, not the way you would expect, not really super dramatic or anything like that, more kind of funny. And at the end of the very tiny development section, as the music seems to be reaching a more serious arrival in C minor with a series of really amazing suspensions, Rachmaninoff again humorously sidesteps and jumps back to E flat major instead. Now, as far as the technical challenges go, usually you would assume an etude will be focused on some kind of a technical challenge. In this piece, it's not so obvious as in certain of the Chopin etudes, for example. It's more of a varied kind of technique. Of course, you need a good, comfortable rotation for the motive that I've marked C. It's not so tricky at the beginning, but near the end, Rachmaninoff expands this motive so that you actually have 3-note chords alternating with a single note. This texture is much more difficult. It's much easier to get kind of stuck in the key. So you have to be really keep in mind to play as lightly as possible, non-legato or almost staccato, to keep the figuration from becoming heavy and labored. The first 2 pages are relatively straightforward. The major technical difficulties really start to crop up starting on the 3rd page when the pianist is confronted with a series of extremely treacherous jumps. So the right hand and the left hand both have these jumps, but your hands are not doing these jumps at the same time. This is combined with a tricky kind of double note pattern that Rachmaninoff throws at you as well. So it's quite hard. You're having to kind of jump around, so you're not really able to be completely prepared, and then there are these tricky little figurations. One effective way that I've found to practice this passage is to do something that I like to call outlining. So remove the 16th notes out of the equation and just focus on finding the jumps, jumping from position to position. I think that the 16th note things are not that hard as long as you can get the jumps securely. So just leave out the notes that I've circled in the score to practice in this version. The other major difficulty is this passage. It's extremely tricky and unusual. I strongly recommend that you follow the composer's fingering. It's very idiosyncratic. It will feel wrong at first, but this fingering actually will give you the best chance of nailing this passage in the long run. Also, another kind of simplification will help when you are practicing. Just try blocking each 8th note, so every 2 16th notes, into 1 chord before trying to move on to the written figuration. Rhythm practice and staccato practice are also highly effective for this passage. In your final performance version, you will find it necessary to very slightly shorten the first 16th note of each 2-note group in order to get the smoothest delivery. So it's almost as if it was a 30-second note followed by a dotted 16th, but not quite that much. So I hope you enjoy this exhilarating little miniature. Do please consider supporting the channel. You can do that just by clicking the like button and the subscribe button in YouTube, or you can also make a financial donation through patreon.com, www.patreon.com/independentpianist, or if you want to make a one-time donation, Patreon is kind of a monthly subscription. You can also do that through PayPal. I have a link to my PayPal account in the description box below. Any amount does help me to continue bringing you this content, so please consider doing that. But whether or not you can support the channel financially, please do stay tuned. Next time I'll have some more great piano music ready for you next week. Until next time, Cole Anderson signing off.